Yeah, oops, get this show on the road. Shoot. Oh, invocation. Hold on. Hold on, in case they don't show up. Oh, jeez. Where's my little thing?
Before you go into the proclamations, after Phil does roll call, I'll say something.
Okay. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the San Marcos City Council meeting for September 27th, 2002. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you could please remain standing for an invocation. Okay, I'm not sure who is going to, okay. So we're just going to have a dedication from the City Council. As we gather this evening, we are mindful of the trust given us to bring forth opportunities to our residents, businesses, and visitors to our great community. We keep in mind our duty to work in an honest, open, and impartial way to ensure fair representation as your City Council. We are grateful for the trust given each one of us to work together as we build on the efforts of those who came before us to ensure a prosperous future for our community. Thank you for this opportunity to be of service. Mr. Skolnick, could you please have the roll call? You may be seated.
Councilmember Musgrove. Here. Councilmember Nunez.
Present.
Councilmember Walton.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Jenkins.
Here.
And Mayor Jones.
Here. Okay, so, yes,
If I could
Deputy Mayor.
just say something. So the reason I'm wearing my mask is I got COVID last week. And I've been cleared by the doctor. I've passed my isolation. And I asked my colleagues if I could sit next to them. And they said yes. So that's why I'm wearing my mask. But I'm not going to go down for the presentations because that's a little bit too close. So just wanted to give you that update.
She didn't want you all to think that she was being antisocial. She's definitely not. Okay, if the rest of the council could please join me in front, that'd be great. So in San Marcos, we love to recognize people that are doing extraordinary things in our community. So our first proclamation is going to be in honor of Casa de Amparo, True Care, and Lennar. So if you could please come up and join me, I'm going to read the first one. Anyway, the first one is for Ryan Green of Lennar. The San Marcos City Council does hereby present Ryan Green with an honorable certificate of recognition for the grand opening of the True Care Foundation and the True Care and Lennar Foundation Health Center. You guys can come up. The new True Care and Lennar Foundation Health Center will enhance the San Marcos community by providing health services to Casa de Amparo youth under the guidance of a compassionate provider. Therefore, we, the City Council of the City of San Marcos, hereby recognize him for his contribution to the San Marcos community. There you are.
Thank you very much.
And then accepting for True Care is Michelle Gonzalez. And then Mike Barnett is not here, so we have Kathy Carpe from Casa de Amparo. All right, now the good part. We get to take a picture to memorialize this moment. But I wanted to see who would like to speak up. Kathy.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say on behalf of Casa de Amparo, thank you so much to the city and for all of their support. This was a tremendous undertaking of our partnership with Lennar Foundation and True Care. And the healthcare center is up and running on our campus at Casa de Amparo. We're seeing patients every day, and it's making it a lot easier for our foster youth to get healthy. So thanks to everyone for your support.
Good evening, everyone. Michelle Gonzalez with True Care. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the partnership as well as all of the community support and, of course, the city. We believe that healthcare is certainly a right and not a privilege for anyone, and True Care wants to do everything that we can in partnership with our communities and all of the residents to make healthcare accessible to everyone. And we are so honored to accept this award and to partner with both the Lennar Foundation and Casa de Amparo. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Green with the Lennar Homes. Really, I just want to thank True Care and their partnership in helping us to create such a beautiful place. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's relatively small, but it took an enormous number of people to put it together in almost 3 or 4 years. So it was a labor of passion, and frankly, we're just grateful to be a part of such a wonderful organization. So thank you.
We have some softball champions in the house. Really excited to recognize each one of you. So the San Marcos City Council does hereby present, we're going to start with Trinity Boyd with an honorable. Come on down, Trinity. Okay, could you be any cuter? All right, so I'm going to read just one, and then I'm just going to call off everyone's name to come down here. Do you have anything special to tell us about your cool team? No. No? Okay, all right. Well, let me just get through this then. Okay. With an honorable certificate of recognition for participating in the San Marcos 10U softball team. During their season, the team record was 34-16. Wow. And I'm getting ahead of myself. With the team batting average of .331 and over 250 runs scored. That's pretty cool. The team has brought recognition to themselves and our community for their hard work and sportswomanship. We, the City Council of the City of San Marcos, congratulate you on your successful season. Today, September 27th. All right, you're the first one. I get to go shake everyone's hand. Okay, next up we have Grace Monahan. All right, where's Grace? Alina Bukroff. Good job. You're welcome. Okay, Brinley Flood. Good job. Sophia Andrade. Oop. Just wait till you have to wear granny glasses. You can't even keep track of them all the time. Scarlett Salazar. Good job. There you go. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, Ruby Hopkins. Mia Egoian. Good job. You're welcome. Jaylene Mendoza. Good job. You're welcome. Lizzie Burnett. Lizzie, you're as tall as me. There you go. Thank you. You're welcome. Eden Salazar. Good job. Abigail Salazar. Good job. Okay, do we have their coach here this evening? Are you the coach of both teams? Okay, why don't you come on down and talk a little bit about these amazing young ladies? It's a lot of home runs, or a lot of runs, right?
Good afternoon. My name is Carlos Andrade, and I've had the pleasure to be a part of this great organization and great group of girls. As many of you know, everything we do at San Marcos Girls Softball is all volunteer work, and we have a great team of volunteers who have dedicated a lot of time, a lot of hard work, a lot of tears from the girls, a lot of missed vacations, and changing of plans to achieve something that these girls can cherish and hold for the rest of their lives, and carry on to tell their girls, their kids when they get older, because something like this doesn't come easy or every day. So I was really blessed to be a part of this group and these achievements, and I brought a plaque to show district finalist championship, and something that it's pretty hard to achieve. And these girls had the pleasure of and the opportunity of being in a matter of 7 weeks. And mind you, every week we go to one tournament. They had the opportunity to be in 6 out of 7 championships, where they placed 3 first place and 3 second place. So for every week we were playing a championship game except one of them. So it was pretty amazing. It was truly something unbelievable, and out of that we had 2. You're lucky if you have 1 good pitcher. We had 2 girls that were just would freeze the batters. A collaboration between 2 pitchers. They averaged 12 strikeouts per game. A total of ending season 500 strikeouts. That is just insane. So we had a long, successful road. They placed very well in states up in Lancaster, and had the opportunity to go to Oregon Nationals, and they also did very well. And they were the talk of the town around a lot of places. If they heard the name San Marcos, they knew we came for the gold. So it was like I always like to say, we put San Marcos on the map. So I love. I'm a homegrown person, and I love what these girls are all about. And as much as we have taught them, they have taught us. So I love that about this, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And thank you for this opportunity and recognition. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. This is fun.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey, keep smiling.
Keep smiling. Keep shining.
Oh, and we have another team that's here with us this evening. Okay. The San Marcos City Council does hereby present this next team, and we're going to start with Madison Knoll. With an honorable certificate of recognition for participating in the San Marcos 14U Oh gosh, you're taller than me. Softball team. During their season, the team record was 30-15-2, with the team batting average of .365 and over 360 runs scored. The team has brought recognition to themselves and to our community for their hard work and their good sportswomanship. We, the City Council of the City of San Marcos, congratulate you on your successful season tonight, September 27th. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, we have more. Let's see, Gwen Egoian. Wait, was your sister on the other team? Oh, I love it. I love it. Did you teach her everything she knows?
Yeah. I carried.
Thank you. Okay, Maya Spiegel. Did you do that playing softball?
Soccer.
Soccer? Oh, gosh. Okay. Emma Arcee. Good job. Congratulations. Okay, Celine Bandong. Good job. Okay, Delaney McKee. Good job. Congratulations. Alyssa McCaskill. Great job. Congratulations. Mhm. Emma Barrick. Congratulations. Thank you. Haley Sullivan. Okay. Lila Willis. Lila? No Lila? Oh, Lila. Lindsay Rogers. Congratulations. Shiloh Boyd. Congratulations. Thank you. You're welcome. Peyton Orozco. Why are you sorry? Don't be sorry. Sophia Gabriella. Congratulations. You're very welcome. All right, where's the coach? You have to start videotaping. Tell us all about these amazing girls. And these.
Oh, there's not enough time.
Okay. Then let's just go for brief and
I
brilliant.
used to have black hair and I had more hair, and now, as you can see, it's starting to. No, all seriousness, these is probably one of the best groups I've ever worked with, and I've been coaching probably close to 15 years now. I actually had my 3 older daughters come through the league, so we've been with San Marcos girls softball since 1995. So it's actually been it's a really great organization. Really glad that the city keeps supporting us year in, year out. I think a lot of the, we've had so many great memories. This team was especially, it was great about this team was just how long they've been together. They've been working together probably for 4 years, since 10, I've had a lot of these girls since 10U, and year in, year out, they've just gotten better and better, and this year was just our breakout season. We actually started the season with 17-0. And then we went into All-Stars, and just like our 10U team, we pretty much got into every single final, and it was exhausting. We would get home at 10 o'clock at night, and we were just, some of the girls would have to call in out the next day because it was just so much work that they had put in that Sunday. Like I said, it was a great experience. I think all the parents could agree with me that we were just day in, day out, going through the season. It was fantastic. And then we were lucky enough to finish in the top qualifying rounds to get to state. Then after state, we wound up basically getting into nationals. And then at nationals, we just had a fantastic run. We wound up being the highest, finishing team out of San Diego County. So that was, a great run. We wound up getting there by winning 2 international tiebreakers. So the game was tied at the end of regulation, and then we somehow came through and pulled it out. So it was a fantastic job. I think every single one of them had a great time. I know I did. It was probably one of the best runs I've ever experienced. And again, with the volunteer coaching, that none of that happens without them as well. They were there because All Stars is basically every single day of the week. So we start Monday, go all the way through Sunday, then we do it again for 7 weeks straight. And man, it was without the coaches, one person can't do it again, especially to handle these ones. They look innocent and all, but trust me. But again, they were, like I said, a great team. Every single one of them knew their positions, what we had to do, and it was always a fun time out there. One thing I do is want to thank the city for just continuing to support our league. I know without them that we, and especially you, I would call you one of the first mayors I've ever seen out there actually going out there for opening day. And this was extra special to be able to come out here and do this. So thank you. With that, Christine, this is one of my assistant coaches, and we do want to present you with something to remember us by. We had all the girls sign it, and basically, so hopefully you'll always think of San Marcos girls softball and, and again, continue supporting our league. And like I said, it's great having great fields and being able to get the upcoming girls coming through that'll hopefully be able to accomplish the same feats that these girls have done. So, thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to say one more thing. The parents and the coaches, these girls couldn't do it without you. Thank you for keeping them out and active and bringing them time in and time out. 7 days a week, that's incredible. That's a lot of work. So anyway, thank you and congratulations. Now let's take our picture.
Coach Raul, emotional dance.
Emotional dance.
Roll. All of you open up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro.
Okay. Does everyone know what month it is right now? It's the National Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month, and that started on, I think it was the 15th. It runs the 15th through the 15th, so here we are on the 27th. What is today? Yes, the 27th. Anyway, so I invited our president of Palomar College, Star Rivera Lacey, to join us to accept this today. So there is a little bit of verbiage on here, but if you want to come up now, I can read it to you. So, the San Marcos City Council hereby recognizes National Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month 2022. Whereas each year, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th. If I would have actually read this, I would know I thought I was right. September 15th through October 15th by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from the Caribbean, Central and South America, Mexico, and Spain. And whereas the observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period. It was enacted into law on August 17, 1988, on the approval of Public Law 100-402, and whereas Palomar College is a designated Hispanic serving institution with 49% of the student population identified as Hispanic. And whereas the City Council and the Palomar College Governing Board support the intent set forth by the California Legislature to assure that effort is made to build a community in which opportunity is equalized and community colleges offer a climate of acceptance with the inclusion of faculty and staff from a wide variety of backgrounds. And whereas San Marcos and Palomar College recognize and respect diversity and strive to foster a culture of inclusion and belonging, and address inequities where cultural awareness, mutual understanding, respect, and harmony are at the center. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of San Marcos do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month in the City of San Marcos. Did you want to say something?
So first of all, on behalf of our 25,000 students in our 75-year history here at in San Marcos, Palomar College has been a staple of this city. But the work we could not do without the incredible support of the individuals behind us. I'd like to say that over the last year, Palomar has had an outstanding year. And during that time, this city council has been nothing but absolutely supportive. So on behalf of Palomar College, our 25,000 students, thank you for all your support as well as the community's support. Thank you.
Does everyone want to introduce yourselves? I know you're all part of Palomar, but go right ahead if you don't mind. Thanks.
I'm Nancy Lane, Acting Vice President of Finance at Palomar College.
Hello, I'm Diane Studinka, Acting Vice President for Instruction at Palomar College.
Hello, I'm Michelle Barton, Director of Institutional Research and Planning at Palomar College.
Good evening, I'm Julie Lanthier Bandy. I'm the Public Information Officer, Director of Marketing Communications and Public Affairs. And this is Tom Finkston, our photographer.
Where are we looking? Sorry. All right, one more. It's National Manufacturing Day. I'm not sure who's accepting this, though. So the San Marcos City Council hereby recognizes, is anyone coming to accept this? It's going to have to be, oh, there we are. Okay. The San Marcos City Council hereby recognizes California Manufacturing Technology Consulting. Today, whereas the first Friday in October is designated as National Manufacturing Day and was created as an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the contributions of manufacturing in the United States. Whereas in that California has the largest number of manufacturers in the nation with representation across virtually all manufacturing sectors, CMTC and its partners celebrate October as Manufacturing Month in California. Whereas CMTC, the California MEP Center, and their partners have been actively promoting National Manufacturing Day and Manufacturing Month I have to tell you, it is a bit of a tongue twister. And whereas, due to these efforts, manufacturers throughout California will, in a coordinated effort, help illustrate what manufacturing is by participating in Manufacturing Month in California and their events designed to increase public awareness and modern manufacturing and great career opportunities manufacturing affords. And whereas, through these invaluable efforts and dedication, you have helped communities and future generations of manufacturers throughout our state of California. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of San Marcos, do hereby recognize Friday, October 7th, as National Manufacturing Day, as well as October 22 as Manufacturing Month, and thank CMTC and their partners for their outstanding support of this worthy event. Wow. Thank you so much. Now you get to read it. No, I'm kidding.
Thank you for having us. Many people do not know that California is home to over 25,000 manufacturers, and in San Diego County, we have a little over 4,000. In the city of San Marcos, we have 388. Manufacturing represents about 44% of the middle class in the state of California, so although I'm one and small and mighty, it's my job to advocate for this sector at the federal and state level to make sure that your taxpayer dollars always come back to San Diego County. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will move on with our regular business, and we will move on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any noes? Okay, motion passes. We will move on to oral communications. Do we have any? I don't see any speaker slips. Oh, I've got a couple. Okay, we have two non-agendized speakers. The first one is Hunter Lynn. If you could come on down, please. Welcome, Hunter.
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, my name is Hunter.
Can you pull the mic in front of you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I left that.
My name is Hunter Lynn. I'm a resident of Stone Canyon and the Discovery Hills neighborhood here in San Marcos. I've been a resident of San Marcos for about 15 years. I love San Marcos. Not a fan of the traffic, but I love San Marcos. I wanted to talk to you all tonight about a problem we're having in our neighborhood. Our neighbors and my family need your help. Hikers have taken over our community. The situation got really bad during COVID about 2.5 years ago, and it really hasn't let up. Every day there are dozens of violations, from noise early in the morning to late at night, lights that shine into our house, from 4 a.m. up to about midnight, hikers walking down the middle of our streets, hikers doing even calisthenics in our neighbor's yard. It's pretty crazy. The list goes on and on. Anyway, we've done everything from speaking to the hikers to putting up signs. Your city has helped us put up signs. We put up our own signs in the neighborhood. And Randy's come by and talked to us and talked to other neighbors, and none of it seems to be working. The good news is that it doesn't have to continue, I don't think, but we need your help. My request of the City Council for consideration through one of your departments, I guess the Parks and Recreation Group, is to short-term increase patrols in the morning and at night, especially on weekends of our neighborhood, especially near the trails. And then at the bottom of Stone Ridge Way, we request that there be some kind of block off or mechanism to restrict hikers from going up and down the middle of the street. You have similar measures in other parts of San Marcos, and I think it's reasonable to have a similar type of control in our neighborhood. Long term, and I spoke to Mr. Walton, Randy Walton, about this, I think it makes sense to move the trail out of our community. He said he spoke to you all about that. I think that'd be a viable option. It's a very popular trail. Double Peak is a very popular destination for hikers, and I think if there's that much interest in hiking that trail, I think it's reasonable to move some of that traffic out of our neighborhood and onto a bypass or some other trail up to Double Peak. So I thank you for your consideration. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Hunter, we actually will be having our briefing, so our city manager can brief us on what we're doing on that currently. Thank you. The next speaker is Marlene Walder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm here today about a slightly different subject than I usually am, and this is for the sake of the wild animals that have no chance anymore because you're using up every inch of land in my area. And we have bobcats. We've always had these animals, but not going after our dogs and cats the way they are now. Even though the people are supposed to keep them in the house and on a leash, the coyotes have become not afraid of people, and you could have your cat or dog on a leash and they'll grab it from you. But all the mobile home parks are going through this issue, and now you've taken away for 194 more units on one side, and if it goes through 184 on the other side. We're also doing great damage to our land itself because we've taken away all the native plants and trees that need each other to make the earth good and the oxygen level, and they need various trees to do that. But the increase in the bobcats, we used to only have one who would walk every time we resealed the streets in our neighborhood. He would walk right down the street and leave his paw prints. But we have coyotes, and we have a minimum of 3, if not 5 right now, and they wait for you to come out and take your dog out. Possums, raccoons, rabbits, which have been under control due to the coyotes, which is a good thing. Gophers, moles, snakes, hawks, even a vulture or two we've had now. Hummingbirds and owls. The owls are being poisoned because the residents do not want to trap, and it's easier to the park is laying out poison, and then the owls eat it and they die. The parks aren't trapping for the gophers or moles, but that's the only place for the possums and raccoons to get their food is coming into our yards because we're not leaving open space for the animals who were here before us. And I just think some of the land Jack's Pond is only so large. They used to live at Jack's Pond before it was renovated and made to look better than it is, than it was. But that renovation also pushed them out more than they were there. And now there's just a lot of big dogs that the people walk because it's too dangerous to walk the little ones. The place over the barn, I can't think of the other name, Woodland, I don't know. But the barn is also having issues because the land around them is being totally built up now. And so I would like to speak for the animals and say, please, let's have less density, less using up of every inch of space. And not only does it make a problem for the animals, it makes a problem for those of us who moved here long ago. I know we didn't want growth and we moved to get away from big cities, and this is now worse than some of the traffic in LA. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item. It's item number 12. Sorry. 12. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, there's no, I just realized there's no 11. Okay, it wasn't me. Okay. Item number 12, Ordinance 2022-1523, an ordinance of the City of San Marcos, California, adding Chapter 2.22, electronic filing of statements of economic interest and campaign disclosure statements, to Title II, Administration and Personnel of the San Marcos Municipal Code. This is a long time coming.
Yes.
Madam Councilor.
Madam
You're up.
Mayor, welcome to the 21st century. The ordinance proposed for the City Council's consideration this evening would, if adopted, modify Title II of the San Marcos Municipal Code to implement electronic filing of not only statements of economic interest, which we fondly refer to as our Form 700s, but also campaign disclosure statements. The California Government Code permits local agencies to mandate electronic filing of campaign disclosure documentation by way of ordinance. It also authorizes a local agency to permit electronic filings of Form 700s. If the FPPC approves the system that is proposed to be used by that agency, there are a number of factors that have to be met. Currently, other than the Form 700s that are electronically filed by designated local filers with the FPPC, and those would be the City Council, the City Manager, the City Attorney, documents are actually filed with and processed by the City Clerk in hard copy, at least currently. The City Council may recall that on July 26th of 2022, it approved the submission of an application to the FPPC for approval of a proposed system of electronic filing for Form 700s utilizing the vendor NetFile. The completed application was then subsequently submitted to and was approved by the FPPC in August. The FPPC found that the proposed system met the requirements of such systems for Form 700 statements as set forth in Government Code Section 87500.2, as delineated in the agenda report for this item, which is more accurate than I am. The proposed system will also meet the requirements for campaign disclosure statements as required by Government Code Section 84615. In addition to meeting the requirements of the Government Code, electronic filing of campaign disclosure statements locally, as well as Form 700s, will reduce much, if not all, but most of the administrative staff time that is associated with tracking and processing paper filings. It will provide filers with a convenient mechanism for complying with requirements, because you can do it basically any time of the day or night. And sometimes the forms are pre-filled so that you make fewer mistakes. It won't let you advance unless you've actually filled out the appropriate segments. It will also facilitate transparency for the public, as documents will be available at the viewer's convenience once they are uploaded. So it's good all around. In conclusion, staff recommends that the council introduce the proposed ordinance to implement electronic filing, and we'd be pleased to respond to any questions that the council might have.
Thank you, Mrs. Speak. Any questions from the council? Council member.
Just a brief one. So it's not mandatory. People can still, if they choose, submit hard copies?
We can mandate the electronic filing of campaign disclosure documents. The regulations with respect to the Form 700s is that we may permit electronic filings of Form 700s.
Okay.
So there's a distinction. We can force you to file your campaign disclosure statements electronically, but we can only essentially give you the mechanism, allow you to file the Form 700s. But you know, you've filed them electronically for years. You know how easy it can be to do it that way. So hopefully the majority of people will, in fact, file them that way.
Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, you had a question?
I have a question. I'm not sure if this is for Helen or Phil. So if we're on different, like North County Transit or Sandag or other agencies, we have to file for them and we have to file for us, and we have all these different filings. And then the county's different than, is this going to all be more efficient, or are they not quite there yet?
I would like to say yes, it's going to be more efficient, but unfortunately, government doesn't work that way. So our system will be compatible with the FPPC system,
Okay.
and so filing on our system will take care of that obligation. If you have another outside agency they have to file with, more than likely you'll have to file with that other agency. Unfortunately, they do not all talk to one another.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
It does? No. Okay, any other discussion? Yes,
I have
Councilmember.
a quick follow-up question. I'm assuming we'll be sending out a notification to the active campaigns candidates to let them know that, assuming this gets approved.
Well, it's not yet up and running, so we anticipate that it would be in time for the next election season. So there's plenty of time to get people overloaded with regulatory requirements. Have no fear.
Oh, that's fun. That's always fun. Okay, do I have a motion to introduce?
I'll move to adopt.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
noes? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to item number 13, Ordinance 2022-1524, Ordinance of the City of San Marcos, California, amending Chapter 2.30, Purchasing of the San Marcos Municipal Code.
That would be me again.
Again.
Madam Mayor. For the council's consideration this evening are proposed modifications to the purchasing provisions of Chapter 2.30 of the San Marcos Municipal Code, which are presented on behalf of really several departments as an update to the existing chapter. The most recent modifications, which the council might recall approving in 2021, added the contractor pre-qualification and debarment provisions. The current proposed revisions address the purchasing authority limits and related procedures, which have not been the subject of a comprehensive purchasing level update since, I believe, 2017. There were other changes that were made in 2014 and then earlier in 2010. There were revisions that were made in 2019 of a more limited nature to facilitate the Creek District and other large projects, which allowed the city manager to issue and to delegate the ability to issue field orders as well as change orders to a maximum of $250,000 for contracts having a value of $2,500,000 or less, and a maximum of 10% for contracts that have an initial value of more than $250,000. So it was a fairly limited scope, but large impact in terms of the city's ability to efficiently process payment for large contracts. Following the comprehensive revisions and the modifications of narrower scope that were made in 2019, staff has been implementing and administering the contracting process in accordance with the applicable regulations then in place, and has suggested further revisions and refinements to facilitate the efficient administration of the bidding, contracting, and associated processes. With respect to change orders and field orders, the proposed amendments would allow the city manager to issue change orders and field orders not to exceed the initial value of contracts for which there is an appropriation to a maximum of $30,000 for small procurements, and this is for general services and goods, and to a maximum of $150,000 for informal procurements. There is no increase proposed for formal procurements. That remains at $250,000. Another suggested revision is to recognize micro purchases of goods and general services of $5,000 or less, for which no bidding requirements would be imposed. It's very hard, actually, to get interest in bidding on items for contracts of $5,000 or less. People just don't want to be bothered. This would help us a great deal. Small procurements more than $5,000 and up to $30,000 would be governed by standard procedures and forms that would be approved by the city manager. Informal bidding would be required for purchases of more than $30,000 and up to $150,000, and formal bidding procedures would be required for any purchase or procurement of more than $150,000, increased from the current $30,000 threshold. For the acquisition of professional services, the San Marcos Municipal Code currently allows informal procedures for agreements of $30,000 or less and requires formal procedures for agreements that exceed that amount. The proposed procedures would change the triggers for formal procedures up to $150,000. This will reduce the frequency of the need for bidding and contracting processes for professional services and all associated negotiations, which are time-consuming for all staff involved, including me, and will facilitate tracking, allowing for more efficient contracting. As rates would be provided or set for potentially longer periods, it is believed that the city may also see longer-term cost savings for both goods and services. Current department director approval level for the purchase of goods and services is $10,000, which has proved a challenging level for the acquisition of really any type of service or supply, particularly given recent market changes and fluctuations in supply costs, and the rate of certain CPI increases. The change proposed for this level is an increase up to $30,000. The city manager's authority is proposed to remain at $250,000 for those purchases for which an appropriation exists. Other changes have been made throughout Chapter 2.30 to offer additional clarifications. For example, the limitations on the ability to make cumulative purchases from the same provider for the same procurement. You can't divvy up your contracts and make them fit under a bigger banner. The clarifications have also been made to recognize prevailing wage requirements imposed on charter cities pursuant to SB 7. Although the state, pursuant to the Department of Industrial Relations finding, has accepted the current San Marcos municipal language as compliant with SB 7 requirements for the payment of prevailing wage and ability to be still receive state funds, changes have been made to reduce confusion and to make compliance evident. It should be noted that the pre-award procedures of Section 2.30.030 sub A were previously adopted, I believe back in 2017. There was a glitch in the process by which applicable ordinances were codified into the San Marcos Municipal Code, so it didn't appear. So what we've done is shown them in a red line in the proposed ordinance, as those revisions occurred some time ago and may not be fresh in your mind. These sections will appear on page 14 of the agenda packet for this item. So those changes have already been made. The pre-qualification and debarment provisions of sections 2.30.105 and 2.30.190 had not been shown in red line, as they had been adopted relatively recently. However, it is now our understanding that those have also not been codified. So my apologies for the differentiation in how we treated those sections. However, it does facilitate an easier review of further suggested revisions to those pre-qualification and debarment provisions, such as the refinement of the definition of qualified bidder in Section 2.30.105 sub A, and the movement of definitions from 2.30.190 to the beginning of this chapter, all of which are shown in red line in those sections. The final codified version will, I promise, be as reflected in the agenda packet. With that, we are happy to respond to any questions that the council may have about the proposed revisions.
Thank you, Mrs. Peak. I just wanted to clarify. So if we go out for an RFP, we get the bid back, we select the lowest bidder, and then we wanted to add additional RFPs, we would have to go out, or additional work that is not contained in that RFP. Would we need to then go out as an additional RFP, or would that be something, and the reason I bring this up is I'm on a board of an agency where I've been trying to get a contract audit, which it's coming back, though I've been trying to figure out if some of the things that are happening financially as to why things cost so much, that things are being added onto original RFPs, they're being modified and adding additional work that was not part of the original scope, that is completely outside of the scope. And so I'm wondering, this does not, it would have to go back for another RFP, as I'm understanding that, correct?
Yes, it would, unless it's a true change order or field order to the existing contract, which is essentially part of the existing contract.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about completely different scope, completely different contract.
Yeah, that's not permitted by our ordinance.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, any other questions? Yes, council member.
Ms. Speaker, if I understood correctly, the cap for the city manager is $2.5 million, with an adjustment of 250,000, or if it's in excess of 2.5, 10% of that. Does that sound correct?
For field orders and change orders, yes.
Right. So those numbers, are they arbitrary? Is it based on our historical reckonings, or is there an ordinance that governs that?
It's my understanding that those were the levels that were felt to be desirable given the scope and extent of change orders that were experienced on projects of those magnitudes.
Okay. So
City manager can feel free to chime in.
I think some of those amounts sort of reflect what a project contingency of that size project would be, and so that change order authority sort of would fit within those project contingencies that we always try to build into our project.
allowing for that flexibility on
Right.
your half to continue on with the project without interruption from the council
that's
or
right.
waiting. So then if it was something more significant than that, it would just come back to us for consideration.
Yeah, if it would exceed my authority, I'd have to come back to you, or if we need additional appropriation, we'd have to come back to you for either of those events.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay. Moving on to new business. Council members Walton and Nunez request for consideration of expressing the City Council's support for California Proposition 1, known as Right to Reproductive Freedom Amendment 2022. Councilmember Nunez, did you want to start off on this?
I think we're going to have Councilmember Walton start us off.
Thank you.
Councilmember Walton.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to Council Member Nunez for joining me in presenting this resolution tonight. For nearly 50 years, every woman in this country, including every woman in our city, were granted a right to privacy in their own body and the right to make personal health care decisions, including the decision to have an abortion. That right, of course, was granted in the case of Roe v. Wade. Last June, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed itself in a case called Dobbs, finding that American women have no such right in the United States Constitution. After that decision, several states acted swiftly to prohibit or severely limit a woman's right to abortion services, some enacting criminal laws. And just last Friday, our neighbor, Arizona, revived a law that's over 100 years old that virtually bans abortions and imposes 2 to 5 year prison terms on any person who provides one. It's Arizona. Think about that. Just 3 months ago, women in Arizona had rights, and today people face prison. And after Dobbs, if you follow this story, a couple of prominent Republican congressmen have stated that if they retake the majority in Washington, D.C., that they will advance a new federal law to regulate a woman's right to control her own body in every single state. You know, I was one of those people who thought Roe v. Wade was untouchable as legal precedent. It's pretty rare for the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse itself, and the Roe ruling had been reinforced by several subsequent rulings. And of course, poll after poll shows that a large majority of Americans believe that a woman should have dominion over her own body, including the right to have an abortion or the right to use or refuse contraceptives. But overnight, as you know, everything changed. And because of these new uncertainties, the state of California has decided to act. And that's the basis for the resolution that Councilmember Nunez and I brought tonight. When ballots are delivered to homes in California and San Marcos in about 2 weeks, voters are going to be given the chance to express their views on this topic. The legislature has placed Proposition 1 on the ballot, which, if passed, will enshrine a right to privacy and a right to reproductive rights in the California Constitution. Proposition 1 will amend the state constitution to expressly include rights to reproductive freedom, such as the right to choose to have an abortion or to choose to use contraceptives. And doing this will make the right to choose in California much less vulnerable to any future federal law or any future California legislation. Any change would have to be done by the vote of the people. The resolution that Councilmember Nunez and I have submitted tonight makes the following points. It says studies show that women with access to reproductive health services are more likely to finish college, pursue higher education, participate for longer periods in the labor force, achieve higher paying occupations, and are much less likely to fall into poverty and receive public assistance later in life. Laws that restrict access to abortion services or contraceptives disproportionately impact low-income women, survivors of sexual assault, Black, Hispanic, Indigenous, and other people of color. Prohibiting the right to exercise reproductive freedom is harmful to public health and safety of all people. It's contrary to the values of equity and justice that the people of the city of San Marcos and the Constitution of the state of California seek to uphold. And although California law provides meaningful protections for reproductive rights today, the Dobbs opinion highlights how California will no longer be able to rely on long-standing federal protections that exist or existed under Roe. It goes on to say, or the resolution does, that the city of San Marcos will continue to uphold the right to privacy and liberty by protecting reproductive freedoms and access to health services, welcoming anyone in San Marcos to exercise their full reproductive rights. And the resolution ends by stating, now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of San Marcos hereby pledges support for Proposition 1 and urges San Marcos voters to vote yes on Proposition 1 in the November 8, 2022 election. Now, to those who say and have said on social media that the City of San Marcos should not inject itself into issues like this, I have this to say. First, throughout the year, this city takes a position on many prospective laws and amendments being advanced in Sacramento. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, at our last meeting, we voted to state our position on proposed laws ranging from how catalytic converters are recycled, to access to medicinal marijuana, to changes in workers' compensation eligibility law. The difference here is that the law change that's going to be voted on won't be voted on by our legislators in Sacramento. It'll be voted on by the people of San Marcos, the people in this room, the people who vote. Second, this city council has passed many resolutions on a variety of matters to state its support. In fact, just last December, the mayor brought a resolution, her own resolution, to support the signature gathering effort of a group that was trying to qualify something for the ballot to amend the California Constitution. Unlike here, it was about a matter that wasn't even on the ballot, and it wasn't up for a vote in any other setting, but we took a position, just like we're doing tonight, and we voted. And finally, it's my opinion, and I think most importantly, all cities should take positions on laws that impact the lives of their residents. And quite honestly, it's hard to imagine something more important in these times that we are living than supporting a law that strengthens a right to privacy and a right to reproductive freedom for all Californians, including all women in San Marcos. So I urge this council, as leaders of this city's 95,000 or so residents, to support this resolution so our residents know where we stand on this incredibly important issue. Thank you.
So I would ask that whether you agree with someone or you don't, it would be great if we could just keep the claps to a minimum as to not intimidate folks that might disagree with your opinion. So we have a few speakers. I'd like to start out with Kathy and, I'm sorry?
No. We can proceed with if we have public speakers.
Oh, yeah, we have public speakers. Yeah, sorry. Kathy would be our first, followed by Michelle Philbrick, followed by Amy Anderson. Kathy, sorry, I'm not sure your last name.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Steele. I'm a resident of San Marcos, and I'm here to ask for the council members' support of the resolution proposed by council members Walton and Nunez in support of California Prop 1, the right to reproductive freedom for women. I was a young adult in 1973 when Roe was passed, so I have memories of coat hanger and back alley abortions and the horror stories that came with it. We can't go back to that. It was horrific. The repeal of Roe will only serve to decrease. Well, wait. I'm sorry. Let me back up a minute. The repeal of Roe will not decrease abortions. It will only serve to decrease safe ones. States that have now passed restrictive laws are already seeing this happen. I and the majority of women in our community would love to live in a community that supports women and their health care choices. Although the council can't do anything legislatively, affirming the women in our community would be meaningful to us. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And yes on one.
Thank you. Next is Michelle Philbrook, followed by Amy Anderson. And next after that will be Neil Ortega-Guerra.
Hi. My name is Michelle. I have to wear my glasses because I feel like I can't see without them. But I just wanted to say thank you very much to the city council members for allowing us to speak and to be able to share our feelings about this particular subject that is very personal to women in particular. The other thing I want to share with you is that I want to say thank you to every one of you who has put your heart and your soul and your time into making this city a great city. And one of the things that we absolutely have in common with with all the community members is that we love this city. We love San Marcos. We love the fact that the efforts that you put forth as our city council members who are representing us is putting us on the map for showing and taking a stand that you care about your community. Especially here in San Diego and North County, we have an opportunity to take a stand and to show and showcase that this is a great place and that even though San Marcos might be small, we come forward and we take a stand and we support our community. So that's one thing I want to say is thank you. I really appreciate that. The second thing I want to say is that this is really important. And particularly for women, this isn't necessarily just about abortion. This is really about women's rights and the right to be able to do what they think is best for their own body. And nobody wants to have someone else say you can or cannot do something. We kind of saw that with regards to the vaccinations for COVID, and we saw the conflict with that, and in some ways this is somewhat similar because now we have the government oversight coming forward and saying what they can and cannot do with their body. The other thing that I want to share with you and ask you to think about as you are deciding what to do today with this particular initiative is that everybody probably knows somebody that is a woman, that is your child, is your grandchild, is your mother, your aunt, your sister, who may be in a particular situation where they are faced to have that difficult choice of what am I going to do? And wouldn't it make you feel good and have that comfort to know that your family member, your best friend has that right to be able to make that choice what they think is best for them? I had this beautiful speech, but I feel like I'm just kind of talking from my heart right now. But I want to say that I think this is really important. If our city can come forward and take a stand and show that we are going to be the leader of North County and the leader of San Diego with respects to protecting women and supporting women. I also ask, first consideration is that politics has become very political, right, wrong, or indifferent. We have our emotions, we get caught up sometimes, and that's normal and natural. But what I ask with regards to this one particular initiative is if we can maybe put our hat off and put the Democrat hat over here, put the Republican hat over there, and take that aside and not really consider our party support and alignment, but make it personal, make it for the people and for the support of women, because we matter. We are a huge contribution to society, and by taking that right away that the government essentially might be doing, it does not help our community whatsoever and our country as a whole. So the last thing I'd like to ask you to consider is religion. A lot of times we talk about, with regards to this subject, people's religious affiliations. And religion is important. Religion is a moral compass with respect to how we treat people, how we live our life, and I think that that definitely adds value. But the one thing that I think that's important to remember is that religion is somewhat subjective. there's classes out there in college that talk about the study of religion, and it's not just about Christianity or being Jewish or being Catholic. You will see that there are a variety of different religions out there that have different philosophies and approaches. That's where it becomes subjective. And I'm a Christian, and I believe in God, and I try to walk a life of like being a good person. But I also don't necessarily support the fact that religion should come into politics. And I think because it is so subjective with respect to different people's opinions of how to live their life and what that interpretation of that religion that they follow might be, it gets messy and it gets complicated. And so I would just like for you to please consider not to have religion be a part of your factor and your consideration with regards to this particular initiative, because at the end of the day, it's about the women and protecting women. And I just wanted to ask you to please vote yes on supporting Randy's initiative, supporting women here in San Diego, and to support the Prop 1. I think it would be huge for us to make that statement and be the leader of our community. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Michelle. Next is Amy, followed by Neil Ortega, sorry, and then Wendy Matthews will be next after that.
Hello. I believe the council should vote no on this resolution before you. Abortion rights are already protected in California. Proposition 1 would amend the California Constitution to allow all abortions without limitations right up to the moment of birth. One day they're in the mother's womb, the next day they're protected. One moment they can be killed, the next moment they're not. And a recent Rasmussen survey revealed that only 13% of California voters believe abortion should be legal at any time. Only 13%. 79% of voters are against late-term abortions, which would be allowed if Proposition 1 were passed. There are no limitations in Proposition 1. There are alternatives to abortion. If someone cannot raise a child, there's adoption. My husband and I, we fostered 7 kids. We adopted 2. It's a wonderful program, opportunity for the kids and for the parents. And I'm a Christian, and God directs my views wholeheartedly, I mean, across the board. And to say that religion should not be in your politics or in your views, we're accountable to God. Those of us that believe in God, well, whether you believe or not, we're all accountable to God for what we do, what we decide. And abortion, at those late term, a viable baby, it is murder. And so I encourage you to vote no on this resolution. I encourage all citizens of San Marcos to vote no on the proposition in November. And so, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Next up is Neil, followed by Wendy Matthews, and then Alan Geraci.
Good evening, Council. My name is Neil Ortiguera. I'm the Senior Director of Public Affairs at Planned Parenthood Action Fund of the Pacific Southwest. And I'm here on behalf of the numerous staff that live in the city of San Marcos, as well as the thousands of patients that Planned Parenthood serves every year. We are here in support of the resolution before you. And as Councilmember Walton so eloquently stated in the introduction, this November voters have the opportunity to vote yes on Prop 1, which in essence would ensure that in California, people will have the power to control their own bodies and make their own decisions about their health, their lives, and their futures. We strongly and unequivocally believe that all people who need access to contraception and abortion care should be able to do so without facing tremendous barriers that prevent them from getting the care that they need and deserve. Prop 1 will continue to allow individuals and families to have the freedom to decide if and when to have children, giving people the ability to plan their futures, their lives, and achieve their dreams. It is essential that our state continues to have the strongest laws in the country and that our cities uphold and support those laws so that we can continue to be a beacon of hope for those who may need access to essential care especially for those coming in from out of state. Regardless of who or what party controls the government or the courts, we need to ensure that any person's rights related to reproductive health care is protected in California. We are grateful to Council Members Walton and Nunez for bringing this resolution forward to stand firmly and boldly in support of access to abortion and sexual and reproductive health and rights. Again, we urge the Council to vote in support of this resolution and to support reproductive freedom. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Neil. Next up is Wendy Matthews, followed by Alan Geraci, and then John will be next.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Wendy Matthews. I am a former planning commissioner for the city of San Marcos. And as you know, it's a volunteer commitment and one that I had enjoyed because I care about the community that I live in. As such, I continue to monitor city council agendas just to see what issues you're addressing. I have to say, expressing city support of a California proposition, to me, does not fall into that category. Nowhere can I find any evidence where proponents of this measure are asking for city or county support. None. But don't get me wrong, I personally will support it at the ballot box. That's just my own personal view. I do support the proposition. I just don't understand why the city council is putting this forth. It feels like the city council is kind of going off the rails in terms of intent to show support. I don't see it as your role. To me, it feels frivolous. As planning commissioners, we were instructed to very clearly stay focused on the roles that we were pledged to support. But we were also discouraged when we ventured off the course into areas that we had no authority or responsibility to deal with. You have very important jobs, no question about that. I'm just suggesting that, and I'm asking you if commissioners are being asked to understand and abide by their roles and their responsibilities, why aren't you? You need to stay focused on the issues that directly affect the city and keep this city as a great place to live and work. So what the heck are you doing bringing a California state resolution into a city? We don't have the authority to do anything with that. It is a state issue, so let's not forget that. I have had about maybe a half a dozen calls this last week, myself, just from neighbors and friends who are asking me the same question. Why is the city council dealing with this? It's a pointless exercise, nice gesture, but seems frivolous. There are other elected officials and administrators who have the responsibility for making this happen. If you aspire to those roles, go for it. Elections season is coming up, so please feel free to do that. But I just don't think it's right to waste the time and energy on these kind of things that are already being addressed at the state level. So I'm just asking you, please, just do your jobs, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy. Next up is Alan, followed by John, and then after John will be Angela.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Nice to see everybody here. This is hardly frivolous. This is actually an important statement for San Marcos residents to make on probably one of the key issues of our lifetime. I, for one, grew up in the 70s. I remember when Roe versus Wade was decided. I remember the controversy surrounding Roe versus Wade. I remember women talking. I remember men talking about this issue. Just as a quick overview, because I see this issue as broader than the rights of abortion, to abortion, I see this as a statement about the right to privacy. When Justice Douglas decided the Griswold case, which permitted the purchase of contraceptions without interference by the state, he talked about what he described as the penumbra of rights, the penumbra of constitutional rights. Chew on that word for a while, penumbra. What he was talking about and what he described later in Roe was basically in our Constitution, in the First Amendment right of association, in the Third Amendment prohibiting against the quartering of soldiers, in the Fourth Amendment right of the people to secure their persons, houses, and papers, in the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination, and in the Ninth Amendment contain all of the contents of the right of privacy and due process of law as guaranteed in the 14th Amendment brings that to the states and to the cities of this nation. So when Roe was decided, and correctly decided, that the right of privacy for a woman to choose whether or not to have an abortion shall not be infringed, it basically took that penumbra of rights, said that our right of privacy is guaranteed in the Constitution. Why is that important now? And why, under the Dobbs decision, why is it important for us to say something about it? Because the way I see the right of privacy, I see it as a chain, a link of chain. You know, all these links creating a nice chain of right of privacy. Griswold is a link, securing the right of purchasing contraception. Lawrence v. Texas, which guaranteed the right to protect non-consensual sexual intimacy in your home. Loving versus Virginia, which guaranteed interracial marriage be protected. Obergefell, which guaranteed same-sex marriage, are all links on that chain. So when Dobbs comes out and basically starts to fetter one of those links of that chain, all of the links will fail and the chain will fall. So in my view, California leads the nation. We lead the nation on a lot of key issues, and this is probably the key issue of our time. So as California leads our nation, San Marcos needs to lead California. And if we make this statement loudly and our residents come out and vote in favor of Proposition 1, then we have made our statement to the state of California. I thank Council Member Walton and Nunez for supporting this resolution to adopt a favorable vote on Proposition 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Next up is John, followed by Angela.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to express my opinion on this topic. Unlike a catalytic converter, I think this is a highly emotional topic. The good people on both sides of the issue have very strong opinions. I think it's presumptuous for this body, the audience and the council members to take a position one way or another. Our country through the Supreme Court, has allowed the states to make the decisions. The decision will be made by California in November, and I believe we need to leave it there. I would rather have our state, our community, known for tolerance for both points of view on this important subject, rather than taking an arbitrary point of view that perhaps is unacceptable to others in the community. So, thank you.
Thank you, John. Next up is Angela.
Good evening. I've never been to one of these meetings before, so I'm going to read my notes. First, I want to thank you for your service. I understand in your enthusiasm that you desire to share your views about current issues. San Marcos does not need to weigh in on the state's position on abortion in Prop 1. We need to stay neutral in our own lane and unite our residents around issues that are not partisan. My husband and I agree that these are very important matters to consider, but we also feel strongly that putting forth city council resolutions is not the forum. City government does not and should not get involved with health issues that we are aware of. We need to roll up our sleeves and get about our city business together. We are strongest pursuing our city goals together. I know you have an election coming up, and so my idea is for you to share on your own campaign trail and leave this public platform free from your own personal opinions. This is not the place to debate the merits of abortion choice. I've listened very carefully to all of the people giving their opinions, and I'm just kind of saddened and surprised that we're talking about the issue of abortion one way or another. To give you a bit of background, we have raised our 4 grown children here in San Marcos for the past 19 years who are now establishing families of their own in the area. We love our city. Even these many years later, we still love our city even more. We look around and we see so much to be grateful for, and we try to be a help. One is the long-standing city infrastructure that has been well established long before our residency, and another is the amazing improvement and growth process that we hope to continue, as well as keeping those wild areas available for natural habitats for animals. These things didn't happen and don't happen by accident, but by staying the course and giving your attention to municipal services like Parks and Rec, public safety, land use. We have a thriving and bustling college right in our city that attracts the next generation. We have a fantastic North City that's budding into an attractive go-to place for all kinds of resident friends and visitors. This is not a place for partisanship, whether I am sympathetic with your abortion views or not. I am appealing to you to please not weigh in from your public place of service about the abortion issue or any of these federal and state matters when we have so many city plans for improvement. Why would you want to be divisive in our community when it's not needed? Other surrounding cities need to see us acting in a politically neutral way, so we have cooperation and collaboration as needed with them. So I ask again, why do you find it necessary to waste the time to posture yourself on the council in partisan fashion? We need respite from divisive issues to protect the community's desire to participate and engage. The hot topic issues are emotional and draining, so please serve us as a whole community, no matter what your personal beliefs are. As a woman, I too have a clear position on this matter, and I will vote that way in November. But again, I don't want my city to take a position on this to distract from the more important matters. Not from a personal standpoint, but as a city resident, I don't give 2 bits whether the governor knows if our city is in support of his agenda for Prop 1. That's not where our focus should lie. The systems we have in place in government will determine whether Prop 1 lives or dies. That's for me to vote on in the privacy of my ballot, and it would serve us better if you could do the same. Keep the matter out of the city council forum. I'm just asking you to leave the politics out. We've had enough division over the years. Keep our city flying higher than that. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, Angela. So tonight I'd like to share what I believe local government's role is. As your council members, we are an elected body that is tasked with representing our collective community of San Marcos to provide public safety, municipal services, parks, a well-planned community with a high quality of life. Each community voice must be heard, and it is vital that we work hard to keep laser focused on unifying our community and educating ourselves on the decisions we are responsible for making. We are a nonpartisan body, one that must always work to serve each resident to the best of our abilities, despite our differences, and doing so in a manner that is fair, honest, and inclusive. Since becoming a city nearly 60 years ago, we have successfully been a city that has celebrated all voices, and a city in which local government has worked hard to unify our community. Our job as your city council is for us to serve you as leaders that will fight fiercely for our local control as our resolution in December. Your quality of life, safety, and allowing our unique community voices to be heard and respected. The agenda item tonight does not follow our legislative platform. It is not a decision that we have any authority over. It is divisive and seeks to influence your personal vote. This city council has agreed to stick to local issues without inserting ourselves into social or national issues and have been unified in approving our legislative platform that states this each year since we were elected. As your mayor, I have never sought to divide you. I've always stayed on course, serving you inclusively, and I will continue that course. Not to be bringing forward agenda items that conflict with our legislative platform and that make any resident feel marginalized, and it might be hurtful to our community. My voice is for everyone. Now I'll open up to the council for any further discussion. Councilmember Nunez.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Councilmember Walton, thank you for bringing this to my attention and to this council's attention. When we discussed bringing this item before this council, for me, it was a very easy decision to make. And the reason it was such an easy decision to make, obviously, I'm so grateful to have our residents coming forth and speaking on this topic. And what I want to share with you, I want to go back to 2018, 4 years ago. As most of you know, I've grown up in this city, and I have grown up in this city with my mom and my 5 sisters. And many of you also know that we came here undocumented, and we had so few resources growing up. We couldn't afford health care. And so growing up, most of my life, I didn't have health care. So resources like Planned Parenthood, and so many of our community clinics became fundamental for our access to health care. And without these resources, we would not have access. And I know that's not the case only for myself and my family. That is the case for so many of our residents here in the city of San Marcos, and especially in District 1, the district that I represent. We have so many individuals that do not have access to health care. And so I mention this because this is an issue that impacts directly our residents. This is a health and safety issue. And I know this even more certain today because we're still in a pandemic, right? We are still having to suffer, through some of the effects that we've endured when we went into shutdown under COVID. And I know for a fact that this is something that pertains to us because part of, as a city, what we had to decide was what our involvement, what our response was going to be to this horrific pandemic. And one of the things that I know we were involved in was, as a county, as a state, how were we going to respond? And we were part of that response, and I'm proud that we, as a city, led in that effort, Many of you know that we were part of the CAL FIRE Operation Collaboration that was involved with the testing, that was involved with vaccines. And that's how I became involved, because representing individuals that do not have access to health care, that did not have access to vaccines, we brought those vaccines through the collaboration. And that is still happening, So this is an issue that involves our residents. And going back to 4 years ago, when I made the decision to run for this seat, one of the few organizations that I sought the endorsement of was Planned Parenthood. And I specifically sought the endorsement of this organization, right? Because I knew how important these resources were for the residents, not only of the city of San Marcos, but for the residents in the county. And one of the reasons this stands out for me today is because as I went back to look at the questionnaire that I responded to, and I won't go through the entire questionnaire and my responses, I will share that in one of the questions that I was asked 4 years ago, says, do I agree that public funding for reproductive health care, including abortion, right, should be available? And what stood out for me is that I naively wrote this 4 years ago. I put, I do not believe this issue will come up in the city of San Marcos City Council. But I also put down, notwithstanding, I support every individual's right to full access to health care. And the reason I say naively is because in 2018, I did not know that Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned. It was not something that I thought would happen in my lifetime. And so fast forward to 2022, when that happens, like so many other women, so many other people, I was devastated. And so now I feel the seed, and I have the responsibility of being a voice for so many individuals that are not here today to express some of these concerns and some of these issues. So for me, it's an issue of having full access to health care. And I agree with the comments that have been made that we lead in California. I am so grateful that I live here. I'm so grateful that my family's here. But I'm also devastated that there's so many women right across our nation that may have been denied health care, basic human needs. And I can't support that. And so for me, when I was given the opportunity to voice this, I'm grateful for that. And so I'm in full support of Proposition 1, and I think this is absolutely an issue that impacts our residents and that has been proven the last 2-3 years.
Anyone else? Deputy Mayor?
Phil, we had received 2 emails. One of them wanted to be read out loud. Do you have that available or no?
Thanks, I forgot about that.
The email was provided to council. Since we've gone back to our regular meeting attendance, we have not been reading correspondence aloud, but it was provided to you prior to the meeting.
Okay, so even though somebody asks, we don't read it, just clarifying. Okay. Okay, well, we know where that person stands. So first I want to, can you hear me okay with my mask? First, I want to express appreciation to all of you who gave your very, very personal opinions and comments. I know that's not easy, and so I appreciate you being willing to do that no matter what side you're on. In my opinion, this agenda item is not directly related to my role as a city council member. I see my role to focus on issues that are directly related to the city. I believe in staying out of people's personal lives. I respect whatever decisions they make. I don't judge them. The resolution states that we urge San Marcos voters to vote yes on Proposition 1. I do not see any benefit in suggesting people vote for or against any state proposition that is of a personal nature and doesn't have any direct impact on city business. That is a choice for the voter to decide without influence from us as a council. In our current world of continual upheaval at the state and federal levels, I feel it's important as leaders to keep our focus on making our community a better place and not focus on items that will knowingly divide our community. As a city, we belong to the League of California Cities. According to their website, there are 479 member cities out of 482. Their mission on the website states to expand and protect local control for cities through education and advocacy to enhance the quality of life for all Californians. The League has chosen not to take a position on this ballot proposition. I agree and feel the council as a legislative body should not take a position either. For me personally, I would take the same position if I was asked to vote against the proposition. I just feel it's not something we should be voting on.
Councilmember.
Okay, I just want to address a couple things. For those not familiar with the Dobbs decision, it generates from the other side of the country, and essentially what it did was take what a lot of us perceive as the legislative prerogative of the Supreme Court out of the Supreme Court. It turned it back to the states, and the court said, this is not an issue for the court. We review constitutional issues. This is not part of the Constitution. This is something to be acted upon by the legislature. And quite honestly, the federal government could do it, but they've pushed it back down to the states. So now we're in the situation we are right now. And as Councilmember Walton illustrated, Arizona has come into a position, steadfast. California will make that decision in a couple of months. This is a ballot issue, and it's for the vote of the people. We are here to set policy, to follow our legislative platform, to address the issues and concerns that affect us directly in San Marcos. And we did have a resolution in support of a measure recently, a statewide measure, but what that measure was to return local control back to us. We were not addressing issues that belonged to Siskiyou County, Marin County. It had to do with San Marcos. And that's what you essentially have hired us to do, look after the interest of our community. And this is about women's rights and personal decisions, but you know, this affects entire families, entire groups and communities, and it will be decided in November. And however you feel about the situation, we will have a decision made and we'll move forward from there. And much as the deputy mayor said, if the resolution was to stand against this, I would have the same opinion, that it is not part of our legislative platform. We are not here, the five of us, to speak for the 95,000. That's not what we're here to do. We can bring forth issues that affect the city, but we are not your voice for the community to the state as a whole. That's not what we're here to do. And insofar as taking stances on separate issues, this council, as a body, will take a position if it affects us. We've had issues with offshore oil drilling, tax issues, where members of this council have individually exercised their prerogative to use their name and their official position in support of or against an item, which are absolutely empowered to do. But they are not issues for the council as a whole. Because ultimately, if we do that, and it gets reported in the paper that the San Marcos City Council agreed to or disagreed to something, the interpretation will be, well, that's what the citizens of San Marcos want. And that's not what we're here to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you, and I will be brief. I think Councilmember Musgrove hit the nail on the head about Dobbs in many ways, that said the issue now goes back to the states. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly why this is on the ballot, and this is exactly why every person in the state of California, including all the voters in this room, will have a say, which is what makes it so vulnerable. That's why we need to make it part of our Constitution, because if it's part of the Constitution, our elected body over the next decades can't touch it. That's why this is important. But our legislative agenda, or platform as it's been described tonight, asks us to take positions on prospective laws or prospective law changes that impact our city. And I think that's where the divide is tonight. This notion that we are not being laser focused because we're going to spend 30 minutes talking about this very important issue is somehow a distraction is ludicrous. We can do lots of things. We do lots of things. But the clear distinction here tonight is what impacts the people of San Marcos. That's what our legislative platform asks us to do. That's why we've taken positions on hundreds of laws and law changes in Sacramento. The difference tonight is that legislative representatives in Sacramento aren't going to vote on a prospective law or law change. You are. And so I would argue this is square within our legislative platform, because I'm a guy who believes this law that we're going to be potentially voting on, or law change, does directly impact every single resident in the city of San Marcos, especially women in San Marcos. Thank you so much.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
I will move to approve the resolution.
And I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second.
And I will make a motion to postpone the current motion indefinitely, and I think my reasons have already been stated.
Okay, we have what did you call that?
A motion to postpone.
Motion to postpone.
The current motion indefinitely.
Okay.
Helen, can you clarify procedurally if we have a motion and a second?
And
A
I'll
motion
second
and a
that
second
motion.
is actually required to bring a motion to postpone. Motion to postpone is a subsidiary motion, and the main motion would defer to the determination on the subsidiary motion.
I'll second a substitute motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So to postpone indefinitely, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
No.
No.
Okay, motion passes 3-2. Moving on, we have oral communications. Do we have any? No more speakers? Okay, moving on to our reports. Sandag. Well, it has been a whole lot of fun down there. I say that with the proper amount of sarcasm. The last vote that we took, which was last Friday, we discussed removing the RUC, which is the road user charge. We did move forward with that. That will take at least $1.5 million, and the motion did pass. It wasn't exactly unanimous, but it did pass. I voted yes on that to remove the road usage charge. It will be $1.5 million plus attorney's fees because it is likely to be litigated upon, and then that'll take a year, and then it goes to CARB. So it is not removed from the plan until it comes back to CARB for approval, and that would be by the state agency. So anyway, that's pretty much all that happened. So it is not removed right now until that happens. And it is still in the subsequent plan, which is the 2025 plan, which they're moving forward on doing pilot projects as well as gathering information to how to implement that plan. So next order of business would be League of California Cities. Councilmember Nunez.
Thank you, Mayor. We haven't met this month. Our next meeting is scheduled for October. I haven't seen an agenda yet or a date, but we are scheduled to meet in October. And so
Okay.
I'll be attending, and I'll have a report at our next meeting.
Okay, item number 17, North County Transit District, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, first, did I see an email come through or something that you are now in officer position?
I am, I'm second vice president.
Congratulations.
Ooh, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Wait, were you voluntold or did you volunteer? I always have to ask. Maybe a little of both?
A little of both, yeah.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you for that.
Okay, North County Transit. Couple highlights from our last meeting. We had an update on key projects that we're working on for our upcoming capital improvement program. We have a signal modernization project to replace all obsolete rail signals from, actually, our Los San corridor goes from San Luis Obispo, LA, San Diego. So it's supposed to help improve the gate downtimes and improve safety. So we're working on that. We are working on a convention center platform for a new coaster platform there at the convention center. It's expected to start in 2024 and likely to be completed by the end of 25. We have 2 zero-emission bus infrastructure projects that will deploy 6 battery electric buses that should roll out by the end of this year. And then we also have a project for 8 hydrogen fuel cell electric buses that should be in operation by the end of 23. Nothing happens very quickly. And these have been talked about for years. The other issue that you've probably read in the paper, transit agencies, employers all over, but transit agencies in particular, have hiring issues. We have increased our starting wages from $18.44 an hour to $22 an hour. We also have a new hiring bonus that ranges from $2,000 to $5,000. And then senior operators were also given a bump in pay up to $30 an hour. And it's pretty amazing when you look at the stats. I wish I had brought it, but say there's 150 applicants that apply to be a bus driver. There might be only 10 or 20 that make it actually to the end, for what variety of reasons. So a lot of work goes into trying to get more bus drivers, but it doesn't always work. The other thing we talked about is some grant strategy. We'll be seeking some grant funding for some double track projects on our corridor. Some of it will be on the Sprinter, some of it will be over the lagoon, and then we'll also be working on some additional bus deployments. So North County Transit is also collaborating and asking our various cities to provide staff, and they're going to meet periodically to collaborate and come up with projects that might benefit the cities and North County Transit, because there's billions of dollars for transportation right now, so we're trying to get a head start on that. San Marcos has somebody on the committee, and everybody will be talking about how to prioritize the projects to see how we can get the most money possible. So that's it. We are going back to in-person meetings, so that will start in October.
I have a request. When we put in the new signals, can we somehow figure out how to make them talk to our signals?
Oh, well, I'll ask that. I think that's a bigger issue.
Everyone asks me, why is it?
Caltrans.
Yeah, like Caltrans. Why is it that our signals don't talk to their signals and they just cause such a nightmare?
Okay.
So that would
I'll
be my
ask.
request. Can we get some of that federal stimulus money for that? That'd
We'll
be
work
great.
on that.
Okay, all right, that's my
It would give a great answer every time I enter that discussion at Los Postos admission.
I
and then
know, it's terrible.
And then that transition into the 78 Offwood Grand Avenue, that it is, quite frankly, the NCTD timing that interrupts the sequence of the lighting.
Yeah.
It is, it's terrible.
And I think that's where the city will be working with the committee to come up with what are our needs in San Marcos, and, staff will be
We
helping.
really need that.
Helping decide where something like that might take place.
Awesome, okay, thanks. North County Dispatch, Councilmember Walton.
We did not meet. I think we meet in 2 months.
Okay. Clean Energy Alliance report, Councilmember Musgrove.
Yes, and I will be brief, Mayor. We are entering into an agreement with Cape Generation Station 1. It's an LLC out of Delaware, which is not uncommon. Delaware is very generous with the LLCs. Company is based out of Nevada, and it is a startup, which I have some misgivings about, but We have some safeguards in place, and essentially what we're doing is entering into a 15-year contract for, I believe it's $38 million over the term, but there are safeguards in place for performance, and if they don't, then we're not out any of our money. But we're not the only CCA that will be working with them, because we have a state mandate, new law that says we have to engage a certain percentage of our usage either from biomass, which is the decomposition of biological materials, so something you might find in a landfill, or geothermal. So apparently there's geothermal energy to be tapped in Nevada.
Bio what? What did you call that?
Biomass, M-A-S-S.
So does that come from like the landfill right now? in San Juan?
Essentially, it would be primarily methane gases, which can be scrubbed, utilized, and then cleaned out.
Well, I think they definitely have that there. I think I remember. Yeah, at the landfill. Out
We're talking about, it would have to meet a significant percentage of our overall use. So
Okay,
we would need
I see.
50 landfills.
Okay,
and
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. the
I
question.
don't know, and I asked that question of
Yeah.
our CEO, and she told me that there really is nothing in this area, and we're encouraged to stay within California, and if not, the neighboring cities, because of the issues of taking power and moving it halfway across the country, because as I say, the electrons don't know where they start, but they know where they end, so do you really know if you're getting clean energy? And this would give us that assurance that we are getting that clean energy.
So is she coming to give us a report soon?
She will, I believe,
We
it's
talked
in
about
October, is that right? So, I believe it is. She'll be here in
Okay.
October to
Okay.
give that update.
All right.
Two issues that we're looking at. I don't normally talk about SBs and ABs, Senate bills and Assembly bills, because it just makes your head spin, but these are two interesting ones. AB 1279, and that is a continuation of existing legislation and a directive from the governor setting a hard target deadline for the reduction of greenhouse gas. And each city and each CCA and each jurisdiction is responsible for this, and they're calling it the carbon capture and sequestration process. Well, they haven't really defined exactly what that means. Essentially, what it comes down to is we need to be better about not emitting greenhouse gases. And then the other one, which is very interesting, and I think everybody's aware of, Diablo Canyon is the last functioning nuclear power plant. It was scheduled to be shut down in 25, I think was the final closure, and it is owned by PG&E, and under Senate Bill 846, Diablo Canyon has been given a reprieve from 2025 to 2030, and it's a minimum of 5 years, and it could go beyond that. And in exchange for the power generated from Diablo Canyon, each of us, and when I say each of us, I'm talking about each of us as individual ratepayers, will be assessed a $6.50 per megawatt hour fee to cover the cost of keeping Diablo Canyon open, and then the specific customers of PG&E will pay an additional $6.50 to keep it open. And when I asked the question, if it's already open and it's already generating power, why are we being assessed an additional fee for something that's already occurring? And there really is no good answer, except it's an offset to the state, because the state of California is going to loan PG&E, I got a little drum roll here, it's over 11, I'm trying to remember if it's 11 million or $11 billion to keep the plant running, because they were in the process of, well, you can't just shut it off. You can't shut down a nuclear power plant, hit the switch and turn off the lights and go. There's a process to shut it down, and so what they're having to do now is revise all of their plans and keep it open, and they're saying that's going to cost money that they hadn't planned on spending. So in exchange for keeping it open, the state is going to give them some fairly inexpensive long-term loans, and the $6.50 will go to service those loans to PG&E so we can keep the lights on. And I shake my head as well. I may be the one member on the board who asks questions that put some people in difficult situations, but I think they are difficult questions, and it is right here. The state's going to provide an $11.4 billion loan to PG&E.
Billion. Great.
Billion, yes.
That means we're all paying for it.
That means we're all paying for it long-term.
Some way,
And those fees will begin in 2026, since the original shutdown was 2025. In 2026, we'll start paying those fees.
Okay. Thanks for all the good news there, Councilmember. Okay, next is business visits. Councilmember Nunez and I went, right? Yeah. Jack, you're up after us. So we went on a business visit today to Magic Touch Software. So Magic Touch is a family-run innovative software company that caters to dental manufacturers for end-to-end business operations. They have 30 employees, and the company caters to large dental labs. Throughout the company's history, they've seen 13 iterations of their software, and it originally started, DOS. It started way back, it was DOS.
I think Mayor, 1997, I think they said.
Yeah, DOS.
Yeah.
Anyway, the company specializes in white glove services by consolidating pre-existing programs for clients. And this proprietary process analyzes various databases, cleans and scrubs the data, then coordinates and merges all the systems. One of the great things is many companies have like 3 and 4 different software programs to do what they need to do, and now they bring it all together and they actually put it together for them and put it on the one system, so it's really easy for the companies, so they don't have to say, oh, here's the software, good luck with it. So it's great how they do that. And then, did you want to finish the rest?
No, thank you, Mayor. It was another, and I think another exciting visit, another great business that's in our own backyard, that has been here a long time. As you mentioned, Mayor, family owned. We met with Amir and a sister, I can't remember her name, and their mom. And so they're running this company that has been in our city. They've grown up here, they've raised their families here, and they did mention that their mom went back late in life to finish her degree from Cal State San Marcos.
Three CSU
That's right.
Graduates in the family,
Yes.
all working there. It's great.
Yes, so very impressive. They said that, as you mentioned, that they work with large dental manufacturers, and they have clients all over the United States and Canada, and they're very busy. So let's see, what else?
Well, I kind of liked the fun fact, too. It was just very out there, just kind of interesting. But he's one of your neighbors, believe it or not. I don't know if you even know that he's one of your neighbors, but he said that one day he sees you driving all the time in your little car, and your wheel cover came off. And it rolled out, and he's like, oh, I got to pick it up and get it to him. And so he waited for one time, and he's the one who gave you your wheel cover back.
Embarrassingly, I didn't know it was my neighbor on the business visit.
Well, that's okay. At least you weren't there. And he said, hey, I'm your neighbor. And you said, oh, I don't know who you are. Anyway, it was kind of interesting. That's how he broke the ice.
Very interesting.
Anyway, it was fun.
Right, and they did share that their intention is to continue to grow here in our city and stay here.
Yep. And they're actually one of the largest companies that do what they do in the whole country. And I think they said, but there was something else in here. I saw in the notes. Let me see. Everything is scalable. So they could do large companies, but they could even bring it down to very small entrepreneurial type companies as well.
Yes.
Very scalable. And yeah, they even do free trials. It was a very cool business visit.
It really was.
And everyone just loved to come together, and they like to live in the community. So we talked about a lot of different things, even housing. I mean, it was a very well-rounded business visit.
Right, very involved in our community. Amir said that he coaches, I don't know how many different teams.
Yeah, they're joining the chamber, and they also are talking about mentorship programs, so a lot of different things. It's great to see that they're going to be doing that. Okay, what's going on at the Creek? Jack?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. The Creek is, feels like it's entering the home stretch, right?
There it is.
It feels like it's getting close. So there's lots of work going on along Discovery. We're installing utilities and storm drain. So there's a lot of work on Discovery regarding that. There's a lot of habitat work going on the west side of well, I guess throughout the project area. Habitat irrigation, all that sort of stuff is going in. I mentioned this at the last one. We'll be doing the water line connection. Actually, on the picture that's up there, where you can see, you're sort of looking down Via Veracruz there. You can see where the paved portion of Via Veracruz is up by San Marcos Boulevard. We'll be doing that water line connection in the next month or so. That will create some traffic impacts briefly, which at that intersection, there's really no way to get around having a little bit of an impact there. And then I think most exciting, the framework on the superstructure of the bridge is starting to take shape. So, which means that you're not all that far away from pouring a bridge at some point. But everything's going well, and 6-7 months from now, hopefully we're done.
We shouldn't have any issues with rain slowing down construction.
It was important. It was important to get the bridge foundations all done well before that could happen. Obviously, rain, if we ever get any, could impact some things, but those are the big things where you're underground and you're digging large holes and stuff like that. It'll have less of an impact now if it happens.
Well, I want rain. Doesn't look like we're going to get any for a while, so at least we won't be delaying it. Okay, council commentary. Any commentary?
Yeah. I just wanted to. Sorry, was it my turn?
Yeah, go right ahead.
When Mr. Lynn came tonight and spoke about hikers in his neighborhood, and he mentioned that I had visited his neighborhood, and I have to concur. I've mentioned this to Jack before, but it's another example of how San Marcos has sort of become a victim of its own success, a destination place. But when the trails are designed, as you probably know, to go through the neighborhood. That's how they're designed. And I can recall going there on a Saturday, and I felt like I was at a rock concert. I did. I mean, literally hundreds of people, strangers, walking, on sidewalks and 10 feet away from houses for nonstop. And I know it's a complicated fix and it's a long-term fix, but it is a real issue.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of discussions over the years about that. Okay. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.